shit out in a box, and I was like, that's way too simple. That's fucking boring. I'm not doing it. Like, I just reasoned with myself like within a week of doing that, and then fucking 100 Thieves comes out with some shit like that. It's bullshit.
It's
Come on,
bullshit,
son.
bro.
The
Come
bomber
on,
jacket
son.
The bomber jacket is sick though.
Alright, I will say that looks pretty tight. I'm not gonna lie. That shit looked pretty dope.
Where it has 1 through 100 on the back. That's sick.
Wait, it had. I didn't even see the back of it. What?
Yeah, the back of it has 1 through 100, and the 100's red.
Alright.
Okay. All right. So the bomber.
That's
yeah. That one's actually sick. That one I do like.
But
I didn't see the back of
it. Yeah, I think that one's like the only cool thing.
But that's creative. That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's sick. I like that.
Yeah.
And that's why like I've liked their other drops they've done. Like I obviously have never bought any other shit, but it's like it's cool. And wear it if I could get it.
Like, I can't even see your eyebrows, bro. That's how hard that shit's like hitting your head.
Lighting is a little intense. All right, what's up, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Wavelengths or the Wavelengths podcast. We haven't exactly figured out.
You didn't commit to shit.
We haven't figured out what we're gonna call it yet. It's gonna be either of those two. But this is the first episode, most importantly, of our podcast with the three of us. We have been trying to make this happen for so long, and partially through user error, and partially because we got fucked. But
there's a lot of conflict, a lot of inner conflict.
There's a lot of inner conflict. All right. Some
what was it? What did we say yesterday? It was like August of like 2018.
Yeah. So
we talked about.
Cole and I initially announced that we were going to do this podcast on the CX House roundtable that we did with Jesse at the old CX House, or I guess not the old CX House, at the CX House, and that was August.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know.
Either way,
I don't know. I don't know.
It's been a long.
I don't think it's that important. It's been a long ass time. Yeah, we've been thinking about doing this for quite some time. Yeah, but here we finally are.
Yeah, but we think
couldn't even know what to call it at first.
We got to introduce ourselves. That's like podcast standards.
Yeah.
Come on, boys. I'm Proximitty or Cole.
Cole, aka
Proximitty. Yeah. How did I mess that up? That's how I should have said it.
Hey, you had to do it to him.
Today.
Today.
I am Samaritxn, Justin.
Yeah. Samaritxn, dude.
That should be the joke. That's dope, dude.
Never made that joke before.
Dude, that's the motherland. I'm from Texas too. My name's Ricklicksmer. I'm also from Texas. I'm Clay. This is our fucking podcast, bro.
It's not Ricklicksmer, dude.
I'm Reclaimer. I'm Reclaimer, but Ricklicksmer for vacancy purposes. All right.
Tennesseemer.
Tennesseemer. Yeah, bro, that's me.
And I'm pro North Carolina midi. Doesn't really fit.
Yeah. So the reason that we called this Wavelengths is a little bit of an inside joke between the three of us. There was a Family Guy joke. I don't remember exactly what episode it was from, and I can't remember. Go ahead.
It was from the Peter Roddick episode, was it not? Because he was.
Yeah, because that was the author. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing the book signing.
You wanna explain the cutaway?
I mean, I think you should just play the cutaway, can't you? I mean, you're gonna be editing.
Can we get away with that? Yeah, there you go.
I'm such a huge fan of Peter Roddick.
There you go. Thanks for reading.
Hi. Would you be offended if I told you your prose suggests a male working-class version of Emily Bronte?
No. Would you be offended if I said I'd like to use your ass as a bongo drum?
Yes.
Well, then we are on 2 different wavelengths. Peter Griffin. Thanks for reading.
Play the cutaway.
Shit. So that's where we got Wavelengths from. Essentially, because we hang out so much and we spend so much time together and so much time talking and playing together that at this point we're like finishing each other's sentences and shit. So whenever we do some stupid shit like that, we always say that we're on the same wavelength or that it's wavelengths.
Yeah, we'll just kind of like, if we make the same joke at the same time or something, we'll just be like wavelengths. And then we're like,
it's badass.
Nerd out because we're like, we had the same joke in mind, but it's like, really, we're just fucking losers and we hang out with nobody except ourselves. So of course we make the same jokes.
That's really what it is.
And they're all Family Guy jokes.
Yeah, most of them, right? But anyways, so yeah, there's the name of the Wavelengths podcast. But actually, the three of us have been friends for quite some time. We've gamed together. You guys, a lot of you guys might know us from the content we made together on YouTube. But we actually have a group chat, or like just a texting group chat. There's just three of us that we've kept active for like 4 or 5 years or something.
It's been
So-
since the first Las Vegas event.
Yeah, so
Probably
we've been
a little bit
right.
before that.
No, it was before that because we renamed it after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we basically just like at some point we had a group text for some reason, and it just never quite died, and it's been super active ever since. So the three of us have always kind of just like had this long ongoing conversation about whatever it is. We'll just drop some stuff in there. But we've always kind of talked about the three of us should do a podcast because the three of us have had that group chat and we share thoughts all the time. So yeah, here we are. We finally are doing it, and yeah, we're gonna try to
Yeah.
How often are we trying to do this podcast? Actually, I don't know if I really realized.
We're just
know.
gonna see how this goes, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
decide
Yeah.
afterwards.
Once a week,
Yeah,
or
cool.
maybe if we gotta miss a week, it's not a big deal. Or
Yeah.
Honestly, the main point of this is just to get it out there, see what the reaction is, and then we'll adapt accordingly.
Yeah.
Because like this shit could flop. No one could watch
Right.
this.
That's
But,
true. That's true.
But the name of the game here is content, right? We're
Yeah,
just trying to
exactly.
put shit out there. So
Yeah, and it's probably going to be filled with a lot of Halo discussion, also just personal stories, stories from events that we went to. Just kind of, hopefully, if you're a fan, I mean, if you're a fan of us and our content, you'll probably enjoy it. But if you're a Halo fan, you're going to find a lot of hopefully good discussion here. So, maybe you guys will enjoy it. Could be
right.
cool, and it could be something that leads into Infinite well, because we can then talk about Infinite and everything about
Right.
how I mean, when Infinite comes out, we will have no shortage of topics to discuss, I'm sure.
Exactly. And so we don't know exactly. We haven't exactly defined what this is going to be. There's no set rules for this or anything. So this isn't going to specifically be Halo news or anything. We're just going to kind of talk about whatever we want to talk about, because we feel like the main point of this is just the conversation and the content and shit. So
Right. I mean, we've kept our, we've had our group chat conversation private for years, but now we feel like maybe it's time to share
Right.
some of, some of it with the world, I guess.
right. And well, it's
In the
kind
form
of
of a podcast.
interesting. It's kind of interesting because it wasn't us three at the beginning. It's interesting how that developed. Because
But yeah, I think of the three of us together so much now, but I don't even really remember how that ever got started. Because
Right.
the three of us met not like,
because
not in a direct like three of us at the same time way.
yeah, Cole
Yeah,
and
it
Justin were
was-
teammates and homies, and then I came along later and joined Cole and Tyler's team, and so Justin and I weren't even on the same team. We weren't even playing together. We were playing against each other.
Yeah, I fucking hated Clay at first. So I was like, this motherfucker took my teammate.
Little bitch. And you know I had
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was
just-
teaming with Justin, and then Tyler and I left, and then we ended up teaming with you.
Yeah. And then like I don't think that me and Clay really became friends until after our first scrim where we just fucking bullied Clay. And then
Yeah.
after that we're like, all right, whatever, like no beef, let's just fucking play together,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and I seem to
uh,
remember, I think I went out of town for a bit, and then you guys ran a bunch of 8s, and then when I came back, you guys were like homies. And
Yeah.
then,
Because that shit was
Like-
hilarious.
yes, it was,
Dude, there was that because it was whenever they were changing the rule sets, weren't they? And it was me and you and like Brett and like Dallas versus like Troy, Tyler, or yeah, it was like something, and we made a video about it where it was like the God Squad, the God 8 Squad.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even fair, dude.
And Tyler straight up like after the first game was like, I'm not fucking playing this God off.
No, it was like
yeah.
3 maps. We were playing them, and that was the first later, by the way. That's where the first later came from.
later.
I flew out and no scope Dallas on the maze and screamed later. But we
Yeah.
won 3 games in a row, and we ended up we were down 49-45 or some shit in a Slayer and ended up winning. And after we were up 3 or 4-0 and we had won that map, Tyler was like, I'm not fucking playing. This isn't fair.
Yeah, because I think it was me, Clay, CJ, and Brett.
Not even fair,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah,
Not
it was
even
like
fair.
it was like Tyler, Troy, Dallas,
Dallas.
and
I think it was that
Maybe-
kid
maybe-
Link. I don't remember his gamer tag.
Yeah.
I just remember his name.
Just not even fair, dude.
Yeah.
Bro, it
Well,
was-
RIP
a-
them.
it was a thrashing. It was bad.
Yeah. And we was,
But that's why
we was talking shit the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you two bonded over that, and that's great. And then I was still teaming with Clay, and then Justin and I have always been friends. We've teamed and not teamed on and off since 2014. So, but we've been friends the whole time. We've like always gamed. So I only dropped you, I think, the one time back in 2014. Wasn't what I wanted to do, but look, man, I joined your team. Then like your team made me captain within like 4 days, and then they were like, "Yo, you got to drop Justin." And I was like, "Okay, I guess."
You want to know how?
That was an
Justin,
experience.
Justin's selfless. That's why.
That's back when when you're an amp shitter to the point where you think that it's important to figure out who's captain, and it's like that none of that shit fucking matters, dude. Just go win the game. Like
just go win that shit, bro.
Just go.
Bro, that was bad. That was back whenever kick chats were a thing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like,
gross.
Can we talk a little bit about? Can we talk a little bit? Or I wanted to break away a little bit into like mentalities and competition, how that's changed over the years. Like from our perspectives, all of us, none of us being pro players, but like having seen a lot of improvement through ourselves.
Definitely grown and learned a lot of things about the scene. Met a lot of people and learned a lot of things.
It's. I think at this point, it's a pretty good understanding. Like we haven't talked. I know me and Cole haven't talked to Clay about it a lot because this motherfucker never played video games with us, but that's a different topic for a different time. But me and Cole is like, we're at the point where it's like, all right, we just got to cut the bullshit. Like this is shit that literally just doesn't matter, and like things are a lot simpler than it seems. And it's like, why did no one just sit here and tell me this?
Yeah, we've been talking about that because like whenever back in 2016, I was just working on my YouTube channel, like montaging and stuff, and like that's when my brand was starting to grow. I was getting up close to like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I was like pretty focused on just making like Halo centric content, pretty much about any new updates and anything that came out, just like, live comms and stuff, but nothing sweaty. That was never a goal of mine. But then 2016 rolled around. I got interested in competing because I knew a tournament was kind of close by. So that was like became the focus, and like the things you prioritize when you just like are starting out in that regard. Like I'd competed a little bit in COD and stuff before that, and a little bit in Halo 4, but like going back into it after not doing it for quite some time, and then like kind of having no real guidance on it, like coming into the meta almost a year after the game released. It was almost a year later, and I hadn't messed with any. Like there weren't any open lands for the first year because it was all like online stuff and the pro league stuff, and it was weird. It's really weird. But
Chattanooga was the first open event.
Yeah, and it was It was a minor. It was just like private funded minor, but yeah, it was Chattanooga event in 2016. 2016 Chattanooga. We went to the first. I went to the first open land for Halo 5. Actually, I didn't think about that. That's fun.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah. So, but we got prepared a month before the tournament, so we came into the meta super late, about a year behind everybody else, and we didn't
even have a full team decided because it wasn't for sure whether I was going to go or not, because at this point I was like 15 or 16. When was Chattanooga?
2016. It was
16.
September.
Yeah.
It was like September 2nd or some bullshit.
Yeah,
it was like just the start of the month.
I was like 16, 15, something like that.
Well, yeah.
I was still in high school.
Yeah, you must have been. Yeah.
It was like an hour and a half away from my house, by the way, and I didn't go. Because me and my team of two, who later teamed up with Cole and Tyler,
right after this event, right after that.
It was literally right after this event. Could not find another two people, and I didn't end up going to the first event that was in my fucking backyard.
It's just so funny.
Just shown up because there's so many people who are just like, yo, I need door team.
Exactly. I should have.
It's just so funny though. Like, team. I feel like I had a decent understanding. I feel like a lot of us had a pretty decent understanding of how the game was supposed to be played. But then, like, what the real difference is, like, when you're at that level, is like you can kind of understand the proper way to play capture the flag, right? Like, you want to try to get numbers. You want to try to get a couple people dead on the other team, manipulate their spawn to spawn them in a corner, trap them, and then kill them when they spawn. And then, meanwhile, you're moving the objective, right? That's pretty standard capture the flag meta, right? I think we'd all agree. Even on any map, you kind of just want to push them, spawn them out of their base, in a corner of the map, trap them, leave them with very few options, get the flag moving. It's like we kind of understood that, but there is a disconnect, and this is, I think, one of the hardest parts I think we've gotten a lot better about in recent years, and I think it really shows, is that actually working with your teammates, though, like, I think there's so much of a mentality back when you're playing at that level where you think that your teammates are supposed to just have your help, and that is true. But what you don't think about is how you're supposed to be having your teammates' help at all times, and I think that's the big difference, is that you realize that you prioritize the completely wrong things. Like, sure, you know what you need to get done on the map, but in order to get to even be in that position, you need to win the fights in the first place and get the control of the map. And like that comes with like being as efficient and helpful around the map as you can. Like at all points in time, the responsibility falls on you as an individual to get your teammates help, to stay alive long enough to get your teammates help and do all that stuff.
Yeah, I also
think you see
that,
a big difference in that.
Yeah, and like I think the easy part is like getting that sort of setup. I think the harder part that like we started learning now is just like the teamwork that's needed to react properly to like what the other team's doing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That happens more on an individual level.
Yeah, and it's just like because I think the biggest problem would be like is what you were saying. If someone's like running the flag and then they die, they're like, bro, and then you're thinking that someone else had their help, and that person's like, oh, well, I thought you had my help. So everyone's like playing as an individual, assuming someone's helping them instead of just being that help.
Yeah, exactly. And being that helps the difference. And I think that comes from like having a lot of awareness, all the individuals having the awareness to know exactly how they can be helpful in that situation. But instead, like, you get shit on, like, you beat most people online, but then you run into one organized team and you get fucking thrashed. And then you go in the theater and you're like, what are we doing wrong? And you're all in the right spots, but you just got to have my help here. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And then you go back and like everybody does the same exact shit. It's like the same.
And the thing is, it's not even like that was something that like we broke a long time ago. I feel like it's something that we're just now like starting to realize.
I feel like I'm now starting to like
of that like being back in
master it, but
2015.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken time. I mean, obviously some players develop quicker on that. And I don't really know how that comes from. Like I said, I wish somebody would just have sat me down and been like, here's what you're fucking up on, because it's like, you're right here, man. You could do the thing, but you're just not. But yeah, I mean, it takes some time. But I also think that I don't know, man. It's like, it's hard to explain. It's like, it's so much more simple once you like kind of understand it. But like, you have to understand like what you can do yourself as a player and teammate. And that's developed, I think, more within the last like since 2019 for me. Understanding the usefulness that you can provide on the map.
Yeah, I feel like a really important part of the process too, because you guys mentioned once you run into an organized team, you get slapped. I feel like that's an important part of the process, that everybody has that moment where, you know, you might be getting kind of good, you might be, you know, you can shoot straight, you can hit some shots with the sniper, you know, you're winning some games in your playlist or whatever. But then that first time that you like in whether it be GBs or like a tournament or whatever, or maybe even scrims or matchmaking, first time you run into that tournament or that team that just shits on you, that just rocks your shit and you don't even know how. That's because I feel like for me it was in H2A back when the PGL ladders were still up, and I played a Warlord 2v2 with one of my friends. Going into it, I was like, bro, I'm good at Halo. I'm about to like I've never competed before, but like I should make this close. Like I can shoot straight. We got like 25-2'd or some shit. And I remember looking at the film like, how the fuck? I don't know.
Dude, it's such a demoralizing feeling because I think, and a lot of people have this too. Like this is something that I suffered from right back in 2016. You have this like, you believe in yourself. You're like,
you think you're almost there.
You're all like, okay, I'm not a pro yet, but like, I can get there. And then you're like, I'm pretty damn good though. And I know that. I know I'm like one of the top. Like I can hang. And then you quickly realize like, holy shit, you're nowhere close. And that feels really bad when you realize you think that you've done all this work and gotten so good, but then you realize you still have such a long way to go. I think one of the things that like people prioritize, and this is like something that I've tried to like something that I was really trying to talk about with the initial part of the conversation was just like, I think people, I think the first time you get like humbled by like an organized team and you get absolutely shit on, like I think what people quickly focus on are the wrong things. Like when it happened to you, Clay, and Warlord, like you probably thought like I need to have better shots and stuff. We just got outshot. Like, oh dude, we were just missing. We were just having an off game. Like my sense was, it's like, all right, like yeah, you probably do need to improve your shot, but there's like so much more that goes into improving that is just more around your mechanical skill. I think a lot of people possess the mechanical skill required. They just don't have the intelligence required. And that's the big thing. Like Justin was saying earlier, like you got to drop the bullshit. What you're doing is just making irresponsible, sloppy plays. And that's the thing you have to tighten up on. You just got to increase your teamwork.
Yeah, because like to a certain point, like you don't need an amazing shot. Like shot is something that you can always work on, and it's like super easy to work on. but like what you're doing in game is like the hardest thing to keep track of. Is like, are you always making like the best plays and like things like that, and like what could I do better, and like how do I break this habit?
It's super hard to not autopilot that you
Yeah,
just like start running around the
it
map.
takes conscious effort. You have to be
Yeah, 'cause,
thinking
like,
about what you're doing.
We would be up on like the best.
Oh my god, dude, our biggest fucking problem.
The biggest thing that I think of is like fucking like strongholds, because strongholds is a game where it can get out of hand if you stop thinking.
Oh my god, yeah, that's the
Because
worst.
you
That's the
stop thinking
most
about
like
spawns,
it
you
feels
stop-
like you're in the middle of an anthill or something, and there's like just like fucking going nuts. Like,
But
you
like
can't tell what the fuck's going on.
we'll be like shitting on people when we'll be up like 75 points, 85 points, and then we're like, we got this, so we're gonna start fucking around. As soon as that happens, like all of a sudden it's like they're like tied with us or something, or they have us in a 3 cap, and like they're up.
You can't
And
take
it's
your
like-
foot off the gas, especially in game types that are prone to like teams going on runs. So like shit like doubles or strongholds or whatever, where if you get a setup, you're just fucked.
Yeah, no, and that's like we would
that's
try
super
teaming.
exhausting.
It is exhausting. We would try teaming though, and we'd go over all this stuff we need to like get better at, and the breakouts would be strong for us. We'd have like a good first start of the map. Flag was the worst because we'd go up by 1 to 2 caps, and then we would all just mail it in, bro. We would all just like, well, we fucking won, so I'll just cruise around the map, and
Trying
then
to go for
we get picked
kills,
apart.
trying to go grab the sniper.
And what happens when you're in that type of, that's like such a bad thing to do, because like, and a lot of teams do this, right? They'll kind of all aimlessly wander around the map, and if you have a couple pretty talented players, like the 3 of us can get away with it. We can all slay. We don't need too much help, right? If you're playing against pretty average players, we're gonna have no problem just getting the kills. But then you're not in the positions to help your teammates when they need it. Nobody's in the position to pull the flag quickly. Nobody's in the position to cut off spawns. But that's the thing. You have to just be a lot more conscious about where you're moving and why you're moving, not just holding forward just because there's open space. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. But I don't know. I just think like, yeah, your mentality as you mature as a player gets much more like, stop worrying about trying to world star everybody. Stop worrying about trying to out talent everybody. Stop yelling at your teammates and expecting them to do everything. It's like you just got to be way more calm, like objectively approach what needs to happen with your team and get it done. Which is what I'm looking forward to getting even better about doing come Infinite Time, because
we want to talk
I want
about
to be nasty that game.
We want to talk about Infinite Time. I went to DreamHack Anaheim, brag about it, had a great time.
No, one of the topics I wrote down actually was to ask you about the event because you went to it. So
no, yeah, it was amazing. So like, I mean, as far as like, I more liked it because of the setting and like the fact that I wasn't competing, so I got to like go around and see all the different stuff.
Not competing at events is the best.
I got this sick hat. I got to like go around and look at a bunch of stuff. I got to money match and Smash for like a deal, like trying to get deals on shit, because this guy was like, "You beat me, I'll give you like $5 off or like $15 off this shit." I'm like, "All right, bet, I'm gonna do it." So like I was just doing that. I had a great time. But there was something that like, because the way that it's set up, it's just kind of set up how like every DreamHack for Halo is, where like you have the casters right there, there's the thing, and then the seats. It's all the standard stuff, right? But like one thing that I was thinking about that, like I'm like weirdly excited for. I almost tweeted this out, but I was like, nah, this would be a good topic for the podcast. Was like I miss like the early game grime. Like, you know what I mean? Like where like people are out there tweeting FAs, team of twos, like you're over here trying to like make moves. It really feels like you're hustling.
Yeah.
Where like you're trying to like form that first good team and trying to get these good players, and like you're talking on the side about like different things, and like yeah, that happens like during like early game, but like it's in its prime whenever it's like you're coming towards the end. Like I think it's gonna kick up towards like October. Like October, it's gonna be really starting to grime, and then as soon as the game comes out, like I'm just so ready for that, because it's like you're so greasy at that point.
yeah, you're
Like,
still
whenever
learning the
game
game
comes out.
too. Like that's
Yeah.
what makes it fun. Is like people get like, you see people get better like really quick because they'll start actually learning and like figuring out how to edge people out in the game.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people are around the same skill level, which is like, a little above average, but still nothing great. And I don't know, there's just a lot of people interested. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun when there's like a big pool of people to like compete against. And like, yeah, more nowadays, it's like you're gonna find the same people online, like the same people that are gonna be going to events are the same people that have been going to events. doesn't change too much. Like going to Atlantic City and going to Atlanta for doubles is like a lot of the bracket had similar teams showing up.
Oh yeah, we knew pretty much everybody at Atlantic City when we played, and I'm sure y'all looking at the bracket in Atlanta.
Oh,
knew
dude, no,
most of the
Justin and I
people in that
before the
bracket.
tournament, we were talking about people that we were worried about running into in the bracket. Like we were,
Oh, yeah.
it was like a short list of
Yeah.
people. We were just like, these types of people are like the players that we know are like really strong and they're gonna be tough. So if we're not playing at our best, like we're gonna get shit on. And one of them we ran into round 2, and we got shit on because we weren't playing well. So yeah, but like Paretic, dude, we were worried about him. Like he's
Fool's
he's
nasty.
one of those great doubles players gonna keep showing up at those tournaments. Like
Yep.
there's just not. I mean, like, there's always going to be people are going to show up to tournaments, no matter how many people are there. But like, I don't know. It's more fun when there's just a lot more, rather than not that the turnouts were bad for those events either. That makes it sound like there was only like 12 teams. That's not,
But yeah,
there's like
but
I
it's
think
definitely
50 plus doubles
Yeah.
teams in Atlanta, and then almost 40 in Atlantic City. So pretty
Right.
good turnouts. Sorry,
But
I don't want to make it sound like
definitely-
esports is dead for Halo because it's not.
Right. There's still. I've actually. I've thought the participation through the past year or two has been actually really encouraging. All things
I
considered.
mean, all things considered, yeah, playing 10-year-old games and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, I think.
Obviously, it's not the amount of teams that you're gonna have like prime, like when the game comes out. But we've had super good participation. A lot of teams at a lot of events, both 4v4 and side tournaments. They've had CE doubles at 3 or 4 of the events in the past year, which is really cool to watch.
I mean, I was like that tweet that I saw from Moses the other day, and he had tweeted that only 88 people had ever won a major 4v4
that's crazy.
Halo LAN. Yeah, Spartan and Falcata were just added to the list after winning in Anaheim last weekend.
So it was
And
86 before last weekend.
Yeah, so Halo Esports has been going on for 20 years. Blaze House is haunted. And 20 years and only 88 people have pulled that off. That's just like, that's just such a short list of people. I couldn't even imagine having, the honor to do something like that. There's a couple discrepancies. People were arguing about some of the events that were counted in that list. But either way, the number is close to 100, if not under 100. So, I mean, like, that's just absolutely crazy. If you think about the sheer number of people that have played Halo, to think that only 100 people have ever achieved that status of being like 44 LAN champion.
Sorry, we were just
is
talking
wild.
about Halo events, and all of my event passes fell as we were talking about that shit.
Blaze House is haunted, or it's Destiny. We're destined for greatness.
Events are cool, man.
Events are cool.
Get that shit out of here. Yeah, you gotta think. Not only have only 88 people ever won an event, Halo Esports has been around for damn near 20 years. They've been having tournaments for this shit since 2001.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. I think like,
And teams are made
I
up
think
of
that's so
4
cool.
people.
yeah, that's wild to think that like that many players. Obviously, there's been a lot of repeat players that have won multiple events, and that's just wild to think like
The majority of
Halo.
them.
Yeah, the majority of them, right? Of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only way there's only 88 people that have ever done it is of a couple players who win a lot, and that does happen because Halo's that cool of an esports, that cool of a game. I think like people can be that good at it to where they can consistently be some of the top players in the game that far down the line. It's pretty wild.
Like fucking Melee's what, 19, or it's like 20 something years or something like that. It's old as fuck, and there was like a whole era where just 5 people were just whooping that ass. Just 5 people by themselves, just going out, just getting top 5 for like years. That shit's crazy.
Wait, what were they called again? They called like
Gods.
Yeah, the era of the 5 gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's badass.
Every single time a god was
Yeah.
at a tournament, they won.
Yeah.
Pretty sick. Also, it's fun to think about. Like we used to watch all those old like Gandhi's old Halo history videos, where he would break down all of the like tournaments through the years, through Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. And it's just interesting to think about, because if you go look at that list of 88 people who have ever won a Halo event, the top 3 are still Ogre 1, Ogre 2, Walshy.
Yep.
And they haven't played or won an event since
Ogre 2 won one in 2014, 15.
And that was the last time anybody out of that trio won.
He won an H2A event.
Yeah, it was the first H2A event.
It's wild. It's wild to think about. There were so many tournaments back then, and they won so many of them. But interestingly, and I heard this on the broadcast at Anaheim the other day. I want to talk about this because it's kind of an interesting thing to hear from Walshy himself. Walshy is third behind the Ogre Twins in overall event wins. He has 30, which is an outstanding number. The majority are coming. He has, I don't know, a handful in Combat Evolved, like 22, I think, in Halo 2, and then 1 from Halo 3. So Walshy was able to grab championships in the original trilogy. Obviously, a legendary player. You guys should know who Walshy is if you don't. But he was talking about the level of competition we saw at the top on Championship Sunday during Anaheim was all so close. All the matches were so close. All the teams were obviously so like strong, so consistent. They all played each other so tight because all their teamwork is so strong. Walshy himself was talking about how the standards for teamwork and the standards for competition nowadays are much harder than they were 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, when he's saying when he was winning tournaments, that teams are more organized and the overall meta is more difficult. You have to be a tighter team, a better team, a stronger team nowadays than you ever had to be in the past, which is really interesting to hear. I would think, I mean, not to say Walshy's not a really humble dude, but you would think somebody who was on the most legendary Halo team of all time, Final Boss, would love to say, well, no, it was harder back then when there were more teams. There were more teams going to events back then, but that just honestly meant there were more teams that obviously were nowhere near the level that they were. But even so, even being the undisputed dominant team for that long, he still thinks that the standards of competition are much higher, and you have to be better nowadays than you had to be back then.
Well, and especially
that's crazy.
It's definitely like the teamwork. Like you saw the transition in C roster came in. Like no one was out here like baiting and switching for people until AW.
It was all like super setup heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like no one did that shit until Optic started doing baiting and switching.
And that was like, really when Advanced Movement came out, and then that translated back to Boots.
Yeah, where like people were just like, oh, this is what we need to do in order to like keep winning. So like even though like a game changes, I guess you would say, but like as long as the core mechanics are there, the metagame's going to keep evolving. So I think I always thought that it was a little bit ridiculous to say that like, oh, like Prime Final Boss is going to be like Prime Tox, and it's just like I personally just don't think that that's a thing. They're playing two different games. Yeah, they're playing two different games. The metagame is so far evolved. People's mindsets are so different, and I just think I always thought that was like a ridiculous thing. I get it if you're out here and you're like, oh, like boss, like they went on that run, but it's different times. It's different times,
right? And
I
it
think
shouldn't.
Any older player who's like out there will 100% admit it. Like even Mango, who went on like a crazy like 2-year run where he was winning every event that ended. Even now he's like, no, like we were trash back then. Like you understand that, right? Like compared to now, like the competition's like harder than ever before. So like if top players recognize that, I think it's time that everyone else kind of recognizes that the game's harder now.
Yeah, and like you're saying, I think that's just a natural. I mean, like if we were just playing chess, like straight up chess, year 3 chess versus year 50 chess is like somebody who's on top. If you could establish yourself as the best by a long shot after 50 years of the game existing versus after 3 years, like you're probably going to trash somebody who's only been playing for 3 years because you have just so much more information. The game's going to develop, and especially a game like Halo. When in the team sense, it kind of operates like a fighting game, where a fighting game you can quickly predict the next few steps. If somebody makes a bad play, if Justin and I were playing Smash and he comes in for a Smash attack and misses, well, I'm going to punish him, assuming that my spacing's proper. I'm going to be able to punish him, right? So I'm going to immediately get a hit on him, and then I can probably string a couple combos, but then Justin's going to try to get out of that. So if I'm smart enough, I can figure out he's missed that attack. Now this means I get to confirm that I get a combo going. He's going to try to dodge to get out of that combo. If I'm smart enough to know how he's going to try to get out of it, I can immediately predict the next step. That works the same way in a team sense when you're trying to move with your team across the map. You can get the kills, push them into their spawn. You know what their next steps are when they're trapped in a corner, right? You know how they're going to try to break out of the setup. So if you're able to predict everything that's happening a couple steps ahead, then you're just way more prepared and way more like ready and in better positions to work with your teammates to get the overall play done. And I think that's just like a natural, if you play the game longer, you're going to be able to predict what goes on a couple steps ahead. It kind of just makes sense in like, it's kind of a domino effect. There's only one natural like next kind of move for each team. And if you can think about it faster, then you're just more prepared.
Nah, this fool's ass.
Yeah, that was never gonna happen.
But no,
Yeah.
I think that's why I think it shouldn't be like a Tox versus Final Boss thing. It's like in 2005, it was super impressive that Final Boss was the best team in the world and that they were so dominant because they were so far ahead of everybody in 2005. And in 2016, it was super impressive that CLG dominated Worlds because they were the best team at that time and they were so far ahead of everybody else. But I think they should be appreciated for their own.
Yeah, you have to appreciate them in their time.
In its own era.
Yeah, and I also think there's something else to consider too. Like, you'd probably hear a lot of people would be like, "Oh, SDK and CE was the greatest Halo team of all time," and it's like, well, they're playing a completely different game because like Comet Evolve spawns are like straight up broken. So like back then, having the top level awareness is I know exactly they're gonna spawn literally right here. I can just stare at like I'm gonna get a bunch of kills if I stay right here and look at it. And like maybe that's what the awareness standards were then. I'm not saying that there wasn't more awareness. Of course there was, but it's just a different game. The spawns clearly don't work like they worked in CE nowadays. The game's much smarter. The game is much more advanced. The game is trying to offer a more fair opportunity for each team. So you have to outclass them in different ways than you used to. And that's really what I'm ultimately saying. I'm not saying one's objectively more difficult than the other, but the game doesn't play the same in that regard. So, the awareness levels are different. The game's just different. So, yeah, they might share the same name because they're in the same franchise, but I really think it's hard to compare which one is technically more difficult.
Right, because
bro.
you look at
Classic Halo's way harder. Advanced movement's trash.
Well, you look
I think what you really see between those two, real quick, this is a quick opinion, but I think the classic Halo is that there's a greater emphasis on finite teamwork that still exists in Halo 5, but there's more power to the individual in Halo 5. So individual players can make bigger impacts on the map. Which one do you prefer? I don't know. You can do that in classic Halo. Of course, individuals can make big impacts on the map. They'll make big, but they're usually accompanied with a power weapon, if that's ever the case. Almost always, if a player's making big moves on the map, it's because they have a sniper or rockets or something. But in Halo 5, that's not necessarily required.
It also just makes
to do
it
a lot of damage.
Like you want to talk about like I don't know, because I kind of want to get into something that I was thinking about, which was like is casting Halo just overall like harder to make exciting because of like how much it is just like a finite like teamwork game? Like the classic Halos, are they harder to make exciting than like Halo 5 because it's just not as fast?
Well,
you know what I mean?
I was wondering, like, I've wondered for the past like year, especially with we're playing Halo 3 and Reach again, and we're playing Pit Slayer for the 9,000th time for the past, I don't know, like 12 years. Like, how are they still finding shit to talk about?
I mean, and there really isn't. It's like you saw some of the pros tweeting about it, but they were saying like every pro team at the top, like on Champ Sunday, is so prepared for every situation. It's like it's so hard to get anything done because every team is just so conditioned. They've been playing these game types for so long. You can't have a team be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody because there's not a new game for them to get ahead on. That's one of the reasons that I really like Halo 5 in comparison, is because there's only, and this is what I was trying to talk about with like being prepared for like what the next step is in terms of like how the game goes and that domino effect. But there's really only so fast you can play the classic Halos, even if you're aware of exactly what the next 5 steps are. But in Halo 5, you actually have the ability to be quick and reposition yourself. And if you can get the drop on somebody, if you know that they're going to get this certain spawn, but you can quickly put yourself in a quick little position to get behind them, if you overextend really fast because you can do it, you don't have that option in classic Halo. You still only have your base movement speed. You can make like creative plays and be a big impact player in different ways in Halo 5, as long as you're extremely, informed on what's going on. If your awareness is high enough and you can be a couple steps ahead of the other team, you can make those types of plays. It's a lot harder to do that sort of thing in Classic. So I think like, yeah, in terms of like shaking up the meta rather than watching the same game type every time, yeah, I think Halo 5 is great for a viewer experience. If you watch Reach, Sank Flag, it's the same. Pick any team. It's the same viewing experience every single time. It looks the exact same every single time.
And it goes to time every time.
And it's every time, right?
It's 12,
you're gonna find that
15 minutes
every time.
Every time.
Yeah, because I think what makes for like a good spectator game is gameplay. Is the gameplay good? How like the game actually looks. So I feel like vibrant colors are like necessary. Because looking at Gray Forge shit is just fucking like, I feel like it's like watching a TV that just has like static. Like I don't want to fucking look at that. and then like commentators, like commentators can only work with like what they have. So if like the game is gray and the gameplay is boring, like what the fuck are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, right. They can't. Yeah, they
Like
can't do much about that.
I can't. But like I'm just that's why I'm trying to think like, is it the game? Is it the commentators? What can the commentators do to make it more interesting? Because like something's got to change. Like I feel like there's just not that energy, and it's
Well, I
like
mean,
I'm trying to figure out like where you can improve on that.
I think that comes
as
with
a
a new game.
I think I think that comes with a new game. Because like as a competitor going into Reach, and I don't want to be like, well, you're never going to beat the pros because they've been playing for too long. It's like that's not true, right? You could hypothetically become better than them, but realistically, if you were like to enter the AM scene, right? If you wanted to get on an AM team, if the three of us found a solid fourth and we worked our ass off, like there's still only one way to play Sank Flag, and Mantra's better at it than us. They're just gonna be. You know what I mean? Those guys they have way more experience in those exact same situations. There's really no just get better, get nasty. Like there's such a limited window of what you can do in a game like Reach versus even a game like Halo 5, there's a limited window, of course, but there's still a bigger spectrum of what you can get done. And that's why I think going back to more classic Halo would honestly be a mistake. I think going back for Infinite, I don't think they're going to do that because they're not making the game for the old fans. I'm sorry, guys, just not what's going to happen. But I do think that would be a regression of what we've done and what we've seen with Halo 5 and what is potentially possible. I think going backwards makes it more slow because I mean, ultimately it's going to come down to more finite, better teamwork, and we're going to have a much harder time doing that. It's going to take us a long time to develop what years and years of conditioning these pro players at the top have already learned in terms of like finite teamwork. But like, there's much more inventive ways to play the game and advance the meta in Halo 5, and we saw that it's still progressing. The Halo 5 meta is literally still progressing, even 5 years after the game has come out. The Halo Reach meta has not changed a damn bit because there's no way to change it. It's the same shit.
Yeah,
like
what you were talking about, where there's like a set number of things that you can do. I just think that giving a player tools for mix-ups makes for a better viewing experience.
Yes.
And I know that I've probably been using like analogies to other games too much, but like I'm a huge fan of Melee. And like the huge thing is that like you have this flow chart of what you do once you get this combo started. But as soon as someone mixes it up to completely fuck over or like fuck with like the other person, it's such a huge thing. And
it is, but what if you didn't even have the option to switch it up? What if you only have your one approach and now you just have to do it the most efficient way? So people are going to argue on either side because some people want, well, at least classic Halo was like, it's like chess, right? Because you only have, it's a turn-based thing. There's no way I can be faster than you at chess. I can be way smarter than you, but I can only work at such a speed that it's one turn each. Versus like if it was just freestyle, like the bigger brain's going to destroy you, and it's going to be way more convincing. I mean, you see people get whopped in old Halo 2. Don't get me wrong, but no, I mean I agree. It's like you have to have the mix up. You have to have the option to be faster than other people, to be one step ahead of them. You can think one step ahead of people in classic, but you can't be a step ahead of them. It's way harder to be a step ahead of them.
Yeah, like
and, I just think going backwards, I think we should naturally be allowing players to have an edge on people
in like disadvantaged states. Yeah,
I think that should be a thing. That seems like a natural progression of the game. If you look at 20 years ago, CE plays basically the same as Halo 3 in terms of pace because it's very, there's dead buttons on your controller when you play those games. They're literally buttons that don't do anything because there aren't enough commands in the game. It's so simple. It doesn't seem like a game we should be playing in 2020. That just seems like it should be left in the past to me. I think they're great for their time period, and I still love them. I still have a blast playing them, but that seems like going backwards to have literal buttons on your controller that just there's no point. They don't do anything.
And that's not to weird. And that's not to say that you have to keep adding inputs and features and shit in every single one. Like by Halo 20, there doesn't need to be 17,000 different inputs, but also you got to think about video games and esports specifically, because we're talking about Halo in terms of competition. You got to think about it looking at it sort of with a different lens, because it's not like Halo isn't baseball. You can't play the same game for 100 years and have it still be interesting to people. You're gonna have to switch things up and make changes every, whether it's every year with COD or every 3 or 4 years with Halo.
Yeah, I agree. I think we rocked with like the old meta for quite some time, and it was great. And we showed that, and it proved itself to be great because there were teams that were definitely better than other teams at it. There were god squads that proved themselves to be on another level of teamwork. But right, I think like that time's in its past. I think we should just move forward. I think the game's naturally getting faster. I think it's naturally progressing that way. The interest for esports is getting faster. Like esports provides a unique type of situation where we can control things like physics, and you don't have to watch things in slow. Like real sports are slow, right? You know what I mean? Like real person sports are slow games.
Yeah, because it's a real person.
It's a real person, right?
That-
we
that-
we
I
don't
think
have those limitations. So why are we worried about that?
That's the difference between sports and like esports. There, like as far as like a spectator goes, is that you can keep watching baseball or you can keep watching like a sport because it's a real person doing them, and you know that that real person has certain limitations.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to esports, you have no limitation on what you put into a game and what you like make of the game.
Right.
So like that's why like games have to keep evolving, and like sports necessarily don't have to, because certain things are still impressive because like
Of course.
it's a human
Yeah.
feat.
Right. And we
Yeah.
talk about it's funny because we talk about esports evolving and sports for the most part staying the same and not evolving, but even recently there's trends in in baseball and like basketball, like they're implementing new rules and changes to the rules to make it more spectator friendly. They're
To make it
changing
faster.
to make it
They're trying to speed
faster.
it up.
Yeah, they're making
Because you
it
don't
so
want to
that
wait
there's
45 seconds in between
right.
each pitch.
There's less
Why are we? That's
yeah.
so much time.
There's
Like
there's a pitch clock. There's less mound visits allowed. There's less timeouts and shit. It's like I think there was some change to like the shot clock in basketball or something.
Yep.
Like they're trying to make it faster and more spectator friendly.
Yeah, it has to be something where like anyone could just look at it and be like, oh, this is sick. Like again, fighting games, they just I can look at any fighting game and be like this, because
Yeah.
it's like a
It's
minute.
super engaging. You can see what's
Yeah,
there's
you can
action
see-
happening right in front of you.
Yeah,
And I
and,
compare
like,
this. All right, sorry, you go ahead. I'll talk about it afterwards.
and just to kind of like cap off like the whole advanced move thing. I'm not sitting here saying like thrusters and like clamber all and like ground pound and all that shit has to be in Halo. I think tools just have to be in there. Like if you look at Call of Duty, they went from jetpacks to now they just have sliding, and that shit's still super fast paced, and like the way
there's a
that
huge
they're
skill gap
doing
with it too.
Yeah, like slide canceling and things like that. Like you want to talk about button combos? I think button combos are like good for games.
No,
like,
I think they're fantastic for games. And
Yeah.
Halo 5 has button combos that people don't realize. They're not called button combos, but like a ninja maneuver is like ninjaing somebody is a button combo. Like jump thrusting, spring jumping is absolutely a button combo. There's plenty.
It's not as
Thrust sliding is a
glaringly
combo.
obvious
That's a button combo.
because you
Like-
don't have an insta kill one like the BXR.
But you do
it's
have an
still-
insta kill one with a ninja.
Sure.
You do. Like
There
you
you
can
go.
ninja somebody. That's
Yeah.
a button combo. Yeah,
And,
I mean
like-
it's not like a guaranteed true combo, but like it's still a thing you can do.
Neither is the
If
BXR.
you're quick with your buttons. You're right.
Yeah,
That's true.
You have a lot more
Gotta hit it.
opportunities for those kind of things where like things aren't super broken, but they like add to the game. If you have more movement options, like wave dashing in Smash wasn't something that they put in the game specifically like for people.
Thrust
They
sliding in
just-
Halo 5. That was
they-
not a thing in the game. But that's a
Exactly.
standard thing that everybody does.
Yeah, and like now players just do that. They wave dash, L cancel, like they like it's all like just movement options that they didn't know they gave the player.
But if that didn't exist in Melee, the meta would have been locked 10 years ago. It would like those types of things existing, like the thrust slide in Halo 5, those extra different things that allow players to separate themselves. You look at Halo Combat Evolved had button combos. Halo 2 had button combos. Halo 3 did not. There's a few freaky ones that a couple people can do. Technically, there's button combos, but like there was never a common thing to do. Not like a lot of people figured them out. And so basically at the top level, like everybody's the same player, and that's like what you see in Reach. It's the same thing. You can go into Halo Reach right now, play on the professional settings, the competition settings. No bloom. Shoot that DMR as fast as you can. It's only going to shoot at a certain speed. So no matter what, you can only kill somebody so fast. Like there's just really no way around it. There's you can melee somebody twice. It's going to take everybody has the same kill time all around. Now, well-placed grenades and stuff obviously give you advantages in fights, and like strafe makes a difference. But no matter what, the time to kill is very limited. And that just makes a big difference whenever you round the corner and you find yourself in a 1v2. It's going to take you way too long to kill 2 people because there's just no creative, flashy way to get kills faster. There's no option for that whatsoever. You have very standard base options, which is shoot your gun, punch them, throw grenades, or run. That's it. This your only options. And in other Halos, in Halo 2, you could BXR and a quad shot. That'd be a sick shit on play, but it's even possible. Like, that's not an easy thing to do, but you could do it.
Right.
And like that's amazing. That's what I think you definitely need to see in the game. And I personally think that type of ability. Now that's not, the two aren't mutually exclusive. Teamwork and power of individual can totally exist at the same time. They did in Halo 2, they did in Combat Evolved, they did in Halo 5. Totally exist. I think people too quickly get caught up in thinking that eliminates the teamwork aspect of Halo, and then that can't exist. I just disagree because I made a clip on it on Twitter a little bit ago talking about it, how I think that they can totally exist at the same time, but.
You see it in other games so many times. I think it's so silly to think that like Halo can't have the same thing that other games like. Comparing it to other games, fucking Atlanta FaZe, the COD roster is like all those players are individually talented and can pop off at any moment.
And they did and do.
However, they also have amazing fucking teamwork, and that is the main thing that they focus on. They don't care that they're all nasty individually. Their focus is on the team play. Because if your team is playing super well, it makes it way easier for you to make an individual play.
That was kind of the story for Halo 5's Splice roster too.
Yeah,
all 4 of those players were fucking disgusting, but together on a team, their teamwork was like second to none.
And that's what that circles back to what Justin's talking about. I think it's like dropping the bullshit though. Like at the very beginning, he's talking about that. Like that's how you get better. And like I think what I've felt like I'm a very mechanically player for quite some time. But what I've been more focused on recently is I don't fucking care about that. Don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about getting 5 shots. I don't care about hitting anything flashy. I just want to try to make the play. If I know what play needs to be made, I know I can do it because I'm talented enough to do it. I'm just gonna do it. And a lot of that I think. Is like knowing like when and when not to challenge is a big thing. Like sure, you're nasty and you can hit the shots, but a lot of times and most of the time, you should never even try. There's just honestly not a point. You can just play way smarter and just wait,
because it's not the correct play.
It's not the correct play. I think that's what the FaZe team does well. Is like they have the ability and they do pop off and they make these plays when they need to, but they don't go for those plays. Those plays happen.
Most of the time, they're making the correct play. They're
making the correct play.
There's never like an over from them that's like an unnecessary overextension.
Yeah.
And like just a quote that like makes so much more sense now is whenever like I think they were talking to Stellar and they were like, so like
like,
how you feel going into the game? Oh, we're just gonna do what the game says us to do. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. And it's just like
wait, what was that? You just do what the game tells you to do? Like
like yeah.
That's exactly what you do. Like you have to drop all expectations of how a map's supposed to play and how you want to play it with your team. You take every situation as it comes and work with your teammates.
Yeah, because
it happens on a micro level. It's so easy.
That was such a huge problem for us is that if we're in the setup, we're nasty. We're shitting on them. Like it's so easy.
Once we're all doing the same thing together, we were good.
Once we're doing what the game says.
Moment that we break, we don't know what to do, and then all of a sudden we get like reverse swept.
Yep. And that's
like no one wanted to wait up. No one wanted to like. It was a lot of like people didn't know how to like advance themselves then to like know, okay, well we have a setup right now, or we could just keep fucking rotating them. And then like we would always get stuck in one mindset where it was either we're always setting up or we're always rotating them. But you can do both. Like
you can totally do both.
You just do what the situation and that goes back to like part of the mix up. Is that if they're expecting you to rush their spawn every time, but then you just all of a sudden it's
wait
quiet,
for them?
Nothing's happening. They're gonna be like, okay, they're not doing anything. Let's like take this opening. They get panicky. They start rushing like random hills like by themselves, and then you're letting them make mistakes, and then you just punish them again.
I'm thinking that you rotate somebody on regret like 3 or 4 times, and then you just wait up top mid for them for a second. Just like they're getting their asshole laid off spawn, but then you just spawn at one time and they panic and nobody's even there. You're just waiting for him.
We tried to play the game one way at MLG Orlando, and we got our shit waxed.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of like we had our like, well, this is what we do in this situation, and they had a counter for that, and we kept trying it because we had nothing else.
We thought we'd be okay
We
because
had
we
no mix-up.
practiced. We practiced. We played the game.
That was one of our best maps too. Regret Slayer was one of our strongest maps. We only lost it probably twice online. We were super consistent at it.
But
So we really like kept pushing that same button of like, do our play, do our
going
play.
back to the earlier point though, we would blow leads all the time.
Yeah.
We'd be nasty and we'd go up. Like I remember specifically on specifically Regret Slayer. There were 2 or 3 times where I remember we were playing people that we knew in GBs and we would go up by 12 or 14 kills. Nasty. No. We're just
And we're just mailing it in, bro.
Time. And all of a sudden, we just lost 50-46.
And we're like, bro, what the fuck?
And all of us in the call are like, bro, dude.
Because again, it was always like, what the fuck did my team do? But it was really like all of us had the same kind of like,
You're
I don't
supposed
need
to
to do
have my
anything.
help.
Yeah.
So when we're all kind of like, I'm not helping anybody, fuck it, then nobody's helping anybody,
No,
and we're
yeah,
just
like-
getting
Like
shit on.
we're up 14 kills. They start getting, and then like it's like
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
we're
Yeah, you cut out for a second.
so it's like they get or like we go up like a ton, and then they start catching up. Meanwhile, we're like fucking around, whatever, and then they get to like it's like 43-42, and we're like, oh shit, like we have to pay attention now, and then we're frantic. And then it's a whole problem, and then we end up losing by like 2 or 3 kills.
Or we'd win a lot of 49-50s, and then we'd have the same conversation every time,
Like,
which
bro,
is like,
it should never.
it should never be that close. Why are we even like, we shouldn't be happy we clutched up because we shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
funny. If you like listen, if you go to listen to a team at a tournament and they win a game 50-49, they're probably yelling. They're probably like screaming, high-fiving each other. They're probably pumped up. We were out here winning games 50-49 after being up 14 going, holy fuck.
No, like you want to talk about some real shit. Like whenever me and Cole were like grinding for the doubles tournament in Atlanta that we didn't go to.
Yeah, it flooded. It was crazy. They had to
Yeah,
cancel
it was
it.
crazy. Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah.
it was like Hurricane Harvey times 2
Yeah.
out here. And
Dallas and I had to take their spot, bro. It was fucking wild.
yeah, it was crazy.
It was
And then
wild.
they got shit on, and Tyler played better than anyway. Like me and Cole, like you want to talk about critical, like if me and Cole like didn't like if it was like 25-12, we're like, bro, like what the fuck? We should be like single digiting these kids.
But that's, I mean, yeah, but that's the thing is like we should have like a lot of those situations, the kills that they got to like our goal every time going into our matches, every single game, no matter who we were playing, was to not let them get more than 10 kills. That was like our standard, and it kept our way of thinking. So like every kill is crucial. So play your life like it's 49-49 every single time, and like that I think really helped
Top
condition us.
car.
But what's like still affecting me in my casual play today, like I'm super reserved in a lot of situations, like preparing, making sure that like I'm confirming I'm going to win this fight before I take it. Like I know I'm up shots, I know I have advantage. You know, I think like that's the type of thing you really have to focus on. It's less about just having an amazing shot and more about just playing every situation as smart as you can with your teammate, and that
Like,
comes through good communication.
Yeah, even if that means like just going for a melee, just go for the melee. It's that person's gonna be like, "Oh man, you're such a bitch. Why would you go for the melee?"
Yeah,
You made it
yeah.
better to play that.
You know, I think a lot of people, and I was suffered from this a lot. Like, I'd have the idea of the best way to play the game, and I try to play it that way. But then you play anybody who's just trying to win, and they're grabbing the green gun, and they're grabbing the shotgun if it's
They grab
there.
red gun.
If there's a
and
bullshit weapon on the map, they're grabbing it because they're trying to win, and that's going to give you the best shot to win.
Stupid ass Hydra.
Yeah.
And that's like something, again, like
Holy
Justin and I,
shit, bro.
Clay and I talked about this going into Atlantic City. We had minimal practice, but we both were individually very on top of our game, and we had both improved a lot as team players in the meantime there. But we were just like, our goal is like, yo, just fucking try to win, just make the right plays. Like if we just play it smart, like just make the right plays, and
We
then
just
we
did
did
what the
really well in
game
that
said.
tournament. Just do what the game said. We didn't overthink it.
Until we got shit on by Splice.
I mean that happens, but yeah, that's just what it is. I think it's like you got to drop a lot of like, I mean, if you want to get better at the game, stop worrying about how you're playing it and just do what the fucking game tells you. If there is a green gun on the map, like the plasma pistol is what I'm talking about, right? Just in case anybody doesn't understand, like, everybody knows plasma pistol, you can charge it, drop somebody's shields instantly. In Halo 5, it's stupid good. You can swap to your magnet almost instantaneously. You can get like instant kills with it.
Dude,
It's
this is
annoying
like
to play against. it's kind of challenging to use. It can be depending on the situation, but the point is like that's your new standard. If you want to win every time, go grab that shit because it's gonna help you win. It's gonna help you win.
Bro, it was I think it was like the second Vegas event where like it was like a close Slayer game of Eden, and it was whoever Ace was playing with at the time. I think they had the Hydra.
Yeah.
And like straight up, he was right next to me. I was like, bro, the Hydra's fucking stupid. They wouldn't have won that map if they didn't have it. And like it's true. Well, like it can be argued, but at the same time, I bet he's sitting there like, bro, I won that map. I don't give a fuck. Like I just used the thing that was there.
Do you guys remember? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
He also gave me the meanest side eye ever after I fucking said that.
But do you guys remember back when in like 2016 during Pro League? It was during like the first season. Envy played CLG, and it was that Envy team with like Ola, L-Town, Rain. It was that really weird Envy team.
Oh yeah.
And it went to Game 5, and CLG was down by like I'm pretty sure CLG was down by like I don't know, like 10 kills in Game 5 Eden Slayer. I remember they brought it back and it was like 48-48, and it was a stalemate for like 2 or 3 minutes, right? Game 5 48-48, and then they finally tried to start doing some shit. Somebody starts moving, and I'm pretty sure it was L-Town started moving just a little bit, like looking at mid-cat, gets fucking hydra'd. CLG wins 50-49, and that clip is everywhere on Twitter, and I was like, that was the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure it was CLG that won that and not Envy, but I could have reversed that story. But either way, that shit happened in Pro League, and I was like, that's fucking stupid.
This is the last like rant that I want to go on. We're talking about like stupid shit in like games and shit.
The red gun sucks too. I'm
kind of tired of like seeing the tweets where it's like why they're people are probably gonna know who I'm talking about as far as like Twitter accounts go. But there are certain Twitter accounts that are out there that are like, oh, like this is the standard for Halo right now. This is what we're gonna do. Like in this weird like intermediate like part of Halo where like we're just doing shit just to pass the time. And like obviously Infinite's gonna be completely different. But if you're like still sitting here like roasting this shit just because like the way that like tournaments work or anything like that, they literally just said that for Infinite they're gonna have Esports engine. If you don't know about the person who runs that shit, this man ran the fucking dopest events ever in Call of Duty. Like Adam Apicella
is a god.
He ran dope ass shit all the fucking time for COD. And like, I don't know, some critiques, like I get it if you're worried about gameplay or anything like that, but like I don't know. I feel like right now you can't sit there and like I feel like I'm not gonna say you can't because obviously you can't. I think it's just kind of dumb to sit there and be like, well, like, is this going to be the standard for Infinite? Is this going to, it's like, no, they're trying to blow your fucking minds about what it's going to be. So if things are shitty right now, like they're going to look great in comparison. They're not going to show you what's going to happen right now because they're saving it for the fucking game. And it's like, if you had those issues like Prime Halo 5, then sure, like 100%, I get it because that was the game that was out. But like to have those issues now and like still trying to like talk all that shit, it's like, bro, like for what? Like, of course they're not going to show you all the dope shit that they're going to try to do, and hopefully it is dope. If it flops, then yeah, you can go fucking roast it then. But there's nothing to fucking say right now because the game's not out. All the cool shit isn't out.
But also they put out a Waypoint post like, what was it, like a month or two ago, talking about Infinite and esports, and they mentioned like the 12-month roadmap and how they were going to be looking into like who was going to run the events and shit, and how they're working hard. They mentioned all this shit.
They're talking to team orgs and everything. They're
and still
like trying to sign players.
Yeah, and still people are like getting mad in the like chats of the DreamHack events, like when are we going to have the 12-month roadmap and shit? And I was like, if you guys
give it to you.
But if you guys would go read, like they said they were gonna do this shit in Infinite.
Yeah, like, and here, and this is why, like, looking at how like the COD League is working right now, why it's so fucking great to sit there and talk to orgs and be like, hey, or like trying to get orgs interested into like Halo before they build teams, is because if they're invested into the game, you are going to get the best competition in Halo. because teams are going to want to get the best players. If they're learning about this game and learning about the meta and everything like that, they're going to try to get the best players instead of like getting these like random one-off teams, like where you have like Team Cryptic or something like that. Because like say like Cloud9, TSM, EG, like Optic, NRG, say that all those get in there, they're not going to settle for some shitter team. They're going to want like the best roster ever, which then makes the most competitive environment without having to make a franchise league. So as long as like Halo's sitting there, if HCS is like doing all these things that they say they're doing and it works out right, you're going to breed the most competitive league that you possibly can without having to get these org owners to invest all their money into it. So like Halo is super fortunate for like how bad we do in like ratings compared to other like esports to other shooters. Absolutely. We're super fortunate in that like the developers are supporting us. They're going out there and talking to orgs for us. That's huge. And like, I mean,
in terms of just viewership, we shouldn't really have like any tournaments at all right now.
Exactly. Right? Like you think like
shouldn't have had any last year either.
Everyone's getting super into the idea of Academy League or like B teams. Like everyone's super into it in other leagues. So why wouldn't they do that then? If they do like a proper like if they do a proper amateur league or expand the league in some way, then like they can put their money into younger players or like different players that are coming up and like do those gambles, and then your grassroots organizations can get into that and get more recognition and things like that. So it's like there's a lot of incentive. They're really incentivizing like orgs to come in if that's the case. Plus showing that you're showing esports engine to show that you're going to have dope tournaments. I'm pretty sure like organizations knew that beforehand, but like you guys are out of your fucking mind.
I don't think people understand just how big of a deal that is, by the way.
Yeah,
esports engine.
They don't.
That's fucking huge.
Yeah, that's huge news.
Right, just so we're clear, MLG was the main tournament provider for Call of Duty. Call of Duty switched to franchising, and then Adam Apicella made Esports Engine. So his next big project, not doing the franchising league for COD, is Halo. So he has turned his attention towards Halo. It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Pretty sure he got his start in Halo. Probably worked on it for years.
So yeah, no, it's a big deal that he's like turning his focus right back to Halo. So it's gonna be
that's a huge thing. And the thing is that Adam Apicella is getting it like some teams are paying that like contracting them to do their events. If Call of Duty teams like Chicago Huntsman and I think Dallas is also sponsoring them, if those org owners like see the value in him that much, and then Halo's gonna have just like for all the events, that's fucking sick, dude. Right. Your events are going to be, the production's going to be great. The organization should be good. I say we, but all that like the HCS team needs to do is make sure that it's as competitive and fair as possible. And for like the actual dev team, they just need to make sure that they make a fun, vibrant game. Because right now, like it's all up to the game at this point, because it looks like HCS is working their ass off. They have this dope tournament organizer. Like,
I just gotta say one thing. I think like for the people that complain about it, I think Hunter JJX pretty much said this in his tweet. Actually, he said it pretty well. I'm gonna say it a little bit more vulgar, I think, than he said it. He was much nicer about it. But basically, he's saying like at the events, the people there, the actual competitors, like are happy that the events are there, and it's all love, and people are just honestly thankful to have an opportunity to travel and compete. A lot of the people are the vocal minority at home. Like, it's okay to be critical of like the broadcast and the stream quality. I think like in terms of like your viewing experience, be as critical as you want. You want that to be the best you can. But if you're not competing, then shut the fuck up about the quality of tournaments. You can't sit there and talk about the equipment. You can't talk about what the experience is like there. You can't talk about any of that shit. I will say, as somebody who went to every single event last year, minus the London event, and then competed at a handful of them, and bunches of events in the past, like it's always a great experience, and like you're thankful you get to do it. I think it's like definitely something that, like, even if you don't do well, it's like it's a cool opportunity. It's a cool progression to have the choice that if you want to take a game that you love playing so much every day seriously enough, you can take it a step further than just playing it online. You can take it a little bit more seriously. A lot of games don't even have that. And we right now, especially right now in Halo, with the lack of interest that we currently have, overall, especially in comparison to the past, the viewership is just not there, like in terms of the tournament viewing. So like the fact that we have tournaments is amazing, and yeah,
Yeah, no,
people just need to
we're
chill out.
lucky that we have
We're
events
super lucky
in the first
and you're
place.
lucky you get to watch them. If you're a viewer that's
Right.
being super toxic, like there could be fucking none. Like there could just be none.
We very easily could have had just nothing in the 2-year gap between
2018 to
between
20
Halo 5 and Infinite.
Yeah,
Right.
and they
Because
could have for no reason.
There has to
They
be
don't have to do
next to
tournaments.
no financial incentive for companies to run events for Halo.
They didn't have to do the whole grassroots program.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't have to do it. They provided a lot of things that I don't know another game that does shit like this. And it's because like I think as a person in the community, you have to recognize how much passion is put into, or how much work is being put into the next game. Like you want to talk about something that's like so grassroots, like obviously we're all friends with Lalo, Muggsy, and I'm sitting there talking to him at the event, and he's like, yeah, I get it. If like, I get why you're upset if like if like something isn't posted on the Twitter account, but you have to understand that while I'm here, I'm doing like 3 to 4 different jobs. So like, I'm working my ass off to make sure that everyone's getting the content that they want and that they expect. So if I slip up somewhere, different things, I think people just really need to learn to like appreciate what Halo's doing for us, and we all need to. I think right now, from now and going forward, is that we just have to be more loving in the Halo community to each other, and that we always have to come from a point of understanding. And I think doing that will just breed success, because if you love your game and you love your developers and you're sharing that to everyone else, other people are going to be attracted to that. Like confidence, like they always say, like confidence is like something that like attracts other people. If you have confidence in your game, other people are going to start looking at your game.
Look at Apex and Fortnite. Both of them, when they were blowing up, especially the dev involvement was extremely. They were extremely attentive. Like they were like, "What is the problem? We'll fix it instantly." And people were, the devs are killing it, man. Everybody's talking like, "Yo, this game's sick," and even when it's not sick, the devs fix that shit in like 2 days. Like they fixed the shit. It's sick. And that was like that was totally a reputation around both those games when they were first like coming up. I think you're absolutely right.
And
I mean,
I think that's where I'm hoping that for esports, that's where Halo's mindset is in, because like COD had an issue with their tournaments, and they changed it like before the new year started. They went from like just doing like a couple matches at a completely different city to doing like a whole tournament, which was super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I just think about last year too, though. Like I was traveling for a lot of the MCC, going to all to spectate them. I didn't play in those. Or I played in the one in St. Louis in January for fun. But I didn't compete in Halo 3. Yeah, but that was for fun. I didn't want to seriously compete in Halo 3. We never did. Spent a lot of my year playing Halo 5. Clay and I were living together for most of the year, like streaming and shit. And by the end of the year, there was Atlantic City and Atlanta. Both events I was able to attend, which is awesome. They're Halo 5 2v2s. They had huge turnouts. A lot of people were interested and super excited. They didn't have to do that, man. Like they were doing Halo 3 tournaments all year. Halo 5 had run its course. It did 3 years of tournaments, and it was like they could have just not done that. But as a result, I was able to go to them. Some of my favorite memories, especially from last year. I mean, Atlantic City, obviously, I did really well at that tournament, so like I'm thankful for that opportunity. Atlanta came up a little shorter than we wanted to, but that's okay. I had fun grinding up those tournaments. I'm glad I had the incentive. I'm glad I had the tournaments to prepare for. It like changed my mentality as how I was playing the game. It made me feel like I wasn't just wasting time on Halo 5 for Infinite. It was like, oh, I have something to work for now. And that's something I'm very thankful for. They didn't have to do that. I think Halo fans are extremely critical, but we could. And I was talking about this yesterday on stream, but like a lot of people's favorite games from the past, like Halos have been remastered over and over and over. There are plenty of great modern ways to experience your favorite Halos from 20 years ago. A lot of games from 20 years ago, that's it. They were 20 years old. If they were only on the PS1, do you have a PS1? Do you have someone that can play PS1 games? Nope, fuck you. Too bad you don't get to play it ever again. Halo, you can play it on all sorts of forms. It's backwards compatible in all things. It's HD remastered, 60 FPS. Now it's coming to PC. What the fuck are we so upset about? I don't get it. Like, Halo community's fucking spoiled, bro. We have so much shit. And people are just like, so pissed all the time. It's crazy.
I think it's really weird because like we're coming from a point where we weren't super spoiled. Like
yeah,
the
Jesus
shit-
Christ. I
the
mean,
shit
like,
is, because before, like getting storm rifles, getting like everything seemed like you had to fight tooth and nail for it, and like
Yeah.
that's all that you hear from pros and everything like that.
Bro,
And
first
I
2
get-
years of Halo 5, we had nothing.
yeah, we got the
Yeah.
finger pretty much
So-
every time. It
No
was crazy
grassroots, no
concerns.
community, no events, no nothing.
Yeah, year one was literally like nothing.
we
Nothing.
Chattanooga 250 Esports, this random tournament organizer that just showed up out of nowhere, was like, "Yo, we're doing a Halo," and everyone was like,
Yeah, bet pull
An
up.
o- an
I was
open-
looking at the
open one?
attendance. It was one of the highest attending tournaments from Halo 5. That MLG Orlando was the highest. It had 88 teams.
I thought
MLG,
Atlanta.
you hear that, everybody?
I had 87.
Right. I thought Atlanta 2017 was the highest, and then MLG Orlando was the second.
Oh, Atlanta 2017, I do think
Yeah.
it was, but it was by a couple
But-
more teams.
MLG.
MLG.
Yeah. So essentially,
That was a grassroots organization that just came up and was like, "Yo, we're gonna run a Halo," and then
yeah. Basically,
So-
positivity is key right now, man.
yeah,
Y'all gotta stop
we
bitching.
gotta stop complaining about bullshit.
Y'all gotta stop
we
You gotta
bitching,
drop the
man.
bullshit.
We gotta
Full
drop the
circle. You gotta
Yeah.
drop the bullshit as a community.
That's the
If
title
you
of
don't
this
want to
episode, bro.
necessarily improve, if
Drop
your
the
biggest goal
bullshit.
isn't to just become an amazing player, if you don't care about that, if you just love the game for fun, drop the bullshit in other parts of your life. Adopt that mentality where you can, because I'm telling you, it helps everywhere. If you can just reason with yourself and go,
Get grown.
"This is bullshit." Yeah, if you
Get
can just
grown.
go, "This is bullshit," drop it. Drop that shit. Get it out of there. Be honest with yourself. You know, it's like you're holding yourself back. It's you versus yourself.
A word, bitch.
A word.
That shit out of here.
All right. Well,
outta here.
I think
Yeah.
that's gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun. I'm glad that we were able to get that message out. I think that was a good message to send
To
out on our
end on.
first,
Yeah.
on our first
It was
episode.
a pretty solid. That was a
But-
pretty solid first episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, if you're interested in everything we talked about, I feel like it would be
Yeah.
enjoyable. I don't know too much if you're not super like into competition and stuff, but
Right.
I
We'll see.
hope you guys come back for the hangs here at the Wavelengths podcast. Yeah, I think we're all gonna sign off. Any final words, anyone? We all good?
Wavelengths.
Bitch.
Bitch.